Queer math camp. Seriously. I remember a time when math was numbers. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. Sometimes you learn how to do square roots and fractions and maybe even calculus. But no, in today's world, we have a queer math camp for kids that is supported and endorsed by a major mathematics association. Let's talk about it. This is Carlin Borisenko, and welcome to The Inner Circle. This is my subscriber-only podcast. In this podcast, we will explore premium articles from my Substack, Carlin, Karlyn, .substack.com, and I'll provide additional commentary and talking points on the ideas I discussed that maybe I didn't get to in the article. Each episode will include a free preview, and then if you would like access to the full content, you can head over and become a subscriber again at Carlin, Karlyn, .substack.com for $5 a month or $50 a year. All subscriptions support my unwoke activism and give me the ability to spend my time teaching you everything I know, and of course I do appreciate it. Well, let's dig in, guys. This one is a doozy. There is a camp that is going to teach your kids, quote unquote, queer math. They want to radically transform math, and they promise they're not grooming your kids. I have to give a shout out to Resolute Mama on Twitter because she was the one who posted this information in the first place. And you can find a link over to her Twitter account on the Substack, carlin.substack.com. She is Resolute Mama, ReSolutema on Twitter. And I definitely recommend giving her a follow as a nice little thank you. So there's this camp for LGBTQ plus high school students, even if they're not out, that is a camp of mathematical queries, not queries, queries. And it is held via Zoom starting in July for 5 weeks. And here is some of what their website says. Who can apply? All LGBTQ plus students located in the United States entering grades 9 through 12 in the 2022-2023 school year and are encouraged to apply to the Camp for Mathematical Queries, Queeries. The program has been designed to provide a 2S LGBTQIA plus affirming space, even for those who may not be out to their families, friends, or communities as queer or transgender. What that means is that the students, when applying to the camp, could do so even if their parents don't know they're applying to the queer math camp. The website also says, we will never share any personal information or individual student work outside of quote-unquote camp of mathematical queries sessions unless a student has given us permission to do so. So it kind of sounds as though a student could attend queer math camp without ever telling their parents, and the camp would be totally fine with that because they're definitely not grooming kids. And even on the website, it really does say that they don't actually teach math. So under the section that says, what math will we learn? It says, that will be up to you. This is not a traditional program enrichment camp or school program. Our program is completely student generated. So it kind of sounds like the students are teaching the teachers there, which is Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. That's Marxism. While we may provide a specific context, e.g. mathematical, queer representation in the media. What queer representation in the media has to do with math, I have no idea, but apparently it does. While we may provide a specific context at various points throughout the program, students will be encouraged to pose whatever mathematical questions they find interesting related to that context, as well as other contexts that they generate themselves. And for this reason, there is no prescribed mathematical content that we will learn in this program. The mathematics we learn will depend entirely upon the questions students choose to explore and the mathematics that might aid them in that exploration. Summarily, we will never have required assignments or anything like a traditional school assignment. The goal of the program is to provide a space for mathematical play, discovery, and joy for LGBTQ plus students, and for them to engage with mathematics in a way they find interesting and comfortable. So in Queer Math Camp, you don't do math, there are no math assignments, and the teachers don't teach the students teach the teachers what they want to learn about anything. Maybe it has to do with math, maybe not, we're not quite sure. But I'm a little unclear about what this has to do with math at all, when the one example of things we might learn is queer representation in media. A little curious, but let's keep looking on the website. And again, you can see all these screenshots for yourself on my Substack, Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. It goes on to tell them that as queer people, they have their own math that resists the normative view of math. In fact, their goal is no less than to radically transform how people think of math. So this explains it. How you can have a queer math camp without actually doing any math is that queer people have a special math, a secret math that only queer people know. And the goal of the queer summer camp, well, I suppose Zoom camp, not necessarily summer camp, but the goal of the queer math camp is to radically transform math by having students invent their own math based on them being queer. Whether or not their parents know they're queer, but that doesn't really matter at all. Everyone following along, you tracking? Okay, this question appeared on the website. What is the inspiration behind quote-unquote camp? Well, LGBTQ plus identity is often relegated to the margins and ignored in subjects like mathematics. Camp of Mathematical Queries was created to resist this normative view. Our program was designed to illustrate that students' LGBTQ plus identities are powerful assets to be utilized in the nurturing of positive mathematical identity. Our program honors the sentiments of Ocean Vuong, who wrote, "When I look at my life, I saw the queerness demanded an alternative innovation from me. I had to make alternative routes. It made me curious. It made me ask, is this enough for me?" Our program taps into LGBTQ plus's folks, FOLX. LGBTQ plus's folks' natural propensity to explore alternative routes and ask questions that others may not. We believe this is exactly the liberatory approach needed to radically transform how we view what counts as mathematics and what it means to be mathematical. So when I say that they literally are saying queer people have their own math, what that means is they want to liberate queer people from the normal way we do math. Liberate means to free yourself from. This is a word you will hear very often by Marxists. They want to liberate these queer kids, whose parents may or may not know they're attending queer math camp, from the normative view of math and have them come together via Zoom for 5 weeks over the summer to invent their own queer math that will be different than the math that they have been taught in school so far. Is everyone on board with this? Does this sound like a good idea? So how will they do that? Well, they'll do it by having a lot of fun with queer mathematical questions. And all the people they're going to be learning from are going to be queer too. Don't worry, there's definitely no grooming. A camp like this would never groom vulnerable children. They're just there to study math or invent a new kind of math. So the website says, what if I'm not a math person? We don't believe there's a thing. So the website says, what if I'm not a math person? And they answer, we don't believe that's a thing. Everyone has the ability to engage in math and learn new things. We have no expectations of any prior knowledge or ability level. We just want to pose fun and queer mathematical questions and learn ways to investigate those questions. Cohort members will always be expected to support other members in their problem-solving efforts and to help everyone acquire the tools to solve the problems we pose. Our program's facilitators, and the majority of whom are queer and trans themselves, will also always be there to provide support, affirmation, and love as we work through our questions. Don't worry, we got you. Because you know what kids really need in math camp? Is a trans person affirming their gender identity in solving their queer math problem. Think this sounds crazy? I do too. And so I took a little look around their website to investigate a little bit farther, and you're not going to believe what I found. And when I tell you my jaw dropped, it really did. So at this point, let's continue into the premium section of the podcast. Thank you for joining me for the free preview. I hope I'll see you on the other side.